going out and about, sneaking into studios across the BBC, interviewing some famous faces that work in the world of TV and radio. We've been asking about their careers and getting some great advice for our young reporters. Next in line is Gary Lineker. Former England captain and now sport broadcaster. On a special visit to BBC Sport, one of our young reporters, Salma, found out that you're partial to a picnic chocolate bar. Right?
She's been sneaky looking at me.
They said, this is Gary Lineker's picnic, and she was like, I've got to have a photo.
Oh, there you go. I haven't even had one today either. Maybe it's gone.
I noticed there weren't any there, and I was like, I should have bought you one.
No, it's been stolen.
So, presumably, you weren't eating picnics throughout your sports career. Presumably.
A lot of crisps.
What sort of diet do you have to have as a footballer?
When I played, it was kind of, you could eat what you want really, or you thought you could. Over a period of time, the diet, nutrition has become a really important thing, so I'm not really sure what they generally consume nowadays. I think it's much more healthier.
And would you say it was a lot more relaxed back then? Because that's how I imagined it.
It was very relaxed. When I played for Barcelona, well, I was there for 3 years, and in the pre-match meal, and the night before and the day of the game, there would always be a bottle of wine on the table that would be shared between 4 players.
Amazing.
So I'm not sure that's the case anymore.
You came through the Leicester youth setup at quite a young age. How do you handle the pressure of, always thinking and believing you're going to be a footballer, to then, you might not have a contract at the end of it? How do you?
Well, that's part and parcel of because it's so unbelievably competitive. Sport, particularly football, of course. All young, people nowadays want to be professional footballers, girls and boys. So I think it is incredibly competitive. But all you can really do is train hard, play hard, enjoy it, give yourself the best possible chance to succeed, and you'll reach your level. And it's hard to say whether you can cope with the nerves and stuff. There's so many attributes that need to come together to make a top-class player. That you really only find out when the higher level that you reach. And with me, fortunately, I surprised myself in many ways, because whatever level I've reached, I still managed to score the odd goal.
So you went abroad when you were playing football, and that was quite rare to do back then. But more and more young people and young footballers are going abroad now to enhance their careers. Is that the way football is going?
Well, there's a lot of movement in football. But most of it has actually been coming to our country. It's not that frequent that our players move abroad, and that's certainly still the case. I mean, my day there were perhaps a bit more actually than now, because for different reasons. For example, you could earn a lot more money abroad than you could in England back in the day. That's now changed, of course. So, but we are seeing 1 or 2 of our young players play abroad. I think it's good for education and in terms of both as a human being and life off the pitch, but also a different kind of style of football on the pitch. So I think it enhances your overall game if you can get that experience.
So for those young footballers that are going abroad, what sort of advice would you give to them? Because obviously you've done that.
I think the important thing if you do go abroad to play is that you commit totally to, getting along with the culture, certainly learning the language. I think that's absolutely a prerequisite. I went to school 3 times a week for 2 years when I went to play in Barcelona, and I think it helps you, because if you're happy off the pitch and you can communicate, it'll help you on the pitch. So I think enjoy the overall experience and ingratiate yourself into the life.
We've got some of our young reporters to send in their questions specifically for you.
How does the pressure of broadcasting compare to the pressure of playing on the field, and how do you handle it?
I think that probably the main difference is that football is incredibly important to a lot of people. Television, people enjoy it and they watch their football on television. But the big difference in terms of, for me, presenting or playing is that if I'm presenting Match of the Day or say a big England game, if I mess up my opening line, no one's really that bothered except myself. But if I miss an important penalty for England or something, or my team, then that changes people's moods for a whole week. So there's a bit more pressure when you're a footballer. Although I never really felt it. I just loved playing. I just kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah. And how did you find that transition from doing a sport
Yeah.
you loved to then becoming a sports broadcaster?
It was tough. It was hard. I remember I started, certainly the presenting side. Doing the punditry was not quite so challenging, but presenting a live TV show is difficult. So it took me a long time to get familiar and comfortable with the environment. I remember I first started presenting really with Football Focus on Saturday lunchtimes, and I can't tell you how many times I drove home on a Saturday about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon thinking I'm never going to be able to do this. But you just stuck at it, kept practicing, kept working at it, eventually started to feel a bit more comfortable in the environment, and then I suppose you become yourself, and then people decide whether they like what you do or not.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people make that transition from sports to broadcasting. What sort of advice would you give to them?
I think, like anything, it's the most important thing is to work really hard at it, to give yourself the best chance to succeed, and that means preparation and really having a good attitude, and then you'll find out whether you can do it or not.
The enhanced technology, everyone's a referee. Is that changing the way football is going? What is the next big thing?
Well, I think we've seen the biggest change, obviously, is that VAR has come into the game. Referees are perhaps getting a little bit of help, so we won't or shouldn't have huge mistakes. I mean, they're not really using it very much at the moment, except for offside. I think that's probably the main change is the focus and the fact there are 1 million cameras now at all the big games, and it's hard to get away with anything.
Yeah, it's true. What do you think's next to come? Do you reckon there's anything big coming in? It's hard to say with football.
If there is a big surprise coming, I don't know what it is.
Okay, so we didn't get any exclusives from Gary.
Well, if I had one, I would have given it to you.
Do you think that with racism in football and with the abuse that referees get, that football is a place for children and young people as spectators and players?
I think football is definitely a place for young spectators, players, and referees. I think that perhaps the abuse of referees and is something that I think VAR is helping with to a degree, because obviously the big mistakes will be less, and players know that things will be looked at by VAR. So it's even more pointless than it's ever been complaining. Although I've always felt it was fairly pointless because I've never seen referees change their minds. Obviously more serious things like any kind of racist abuse is, it's a society thing really, and that can be reflected on the football field. The one thing I would say is that football is trying to come together, I think, to stamp it out or at least make a difference, which I think is vitally important. And also remember that football and inside a dressing room is a wonderful diverse mix of different ethnicities. And I think that's actually something that football can be proud of, and hopefully we will make a difference. And it's good that we're having so many of our players stand up and speak out, and I think they'll make a difference. I really hope so.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much,
My
Gary.
pleasure.
Well, you've got to get back to watching the game
I
now.
have. And try and find a picnic.
So Gary went off to find his picnic while I spent some time reflecting on some of the key points he made. Work hard, don't give up, and keeping fit and healthy is much more important now than it used to be. If you like this video and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe.